Seventh and penultimate race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup in snowy Winterberg in Germany's Hochsauerland, colloquially the Dutch Alps. And it is a Dutch slider who has been setting the pace here, the winner last time out. Hello everybody, welcome back to our coverage of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're heading into our second heat. The top 20 sleds from the first run all have gone through. Martin Haven and Greg West getting ready to watch the action and to see if anybody, Greg, can hold a candle to our first heat leader.
Yeah, Kim Boss put it way out in front with a casual half-second lead, but sitting in third right now, bronze medal position, Yuli Kanakina is really coming on strong in the second half of the season. Had a great outing at Sigulda, and then here as well, sitting in third after heat one. Then the hometown queen, as you say, Jacqueline Lurling, sitting in second. A huge race for her. She needs a top 8 in both this event and the event in St. Moritz next week in order to ensure that she meets the German qualification standards for the Olympic Games in Beijing. On track to do that with a second here. And then your leader, way out in front. A country mile out in front. In a sport measured to the 100th of a second, she is a half second, okay, 0.49 of a second clear of the entire field. Kim Boss, the Dutch slider, with a blazing 57.88 in heat one, looking to maintain that in heat two.
She certainly is, and that advantage is going to give her a very comfortable feeling heading into the final run. For Jacqueline Lurling, the hometown queen, as you say, absolutely crucial here. Don't forget, silver medalist in the Olympic Games just 4 years ago in Pyeongchang. The bronze medalist, Laura Dees, 4 years ago. Well, she's in 14th place out of the 23 sleds. She's not the top-ranked British slider in World Cup points any longer. That is her teammate, Brogan Crowley. Laura Dees was the bronze medalist in Pyeongchang. The gold medalist, Lizzie Arnold, has of course retired and become a mum since then, so she won't be competing. It is just possible, in fact it's more than just possible, that no one who finished on the podium in Pyeongchang in women's skeleton will be there this time out, and that is an astonishing concept. While Jacqueline Lurling needs the big result, a podium here would definitely help her, and then it all comes down to St. Moritz, which is a no options race, but we'll have to wait and see exactly where we get to from that. So the athletes able to make adjustments to their sleds. They're not allowed to change the runner, but you're allowed to change the way it is set in the sled between the runs to suit changing conditions, and the conditions always change. Whether you make the changes in the correct direction or not remains to be seen. So there's our start order for the second heat, 20 down to 1, last to fast, as we start with Brogan Crowley and round out the race with Kimberly Boss. Seventh race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're in Winterberg in Germany. Martin Haven and Greg West getting ready to watch the action. Brogan Crowley, 20th after the first heat. Top-ranked British slider in points at the moment. She is first to go.
And looking to see if Brogan has a chance to move up here. His sled really has been bleeding speed all season. We talk about it every time down the track. She goes 5:41 start time, little trouble on the exit corner zero, comes out and clips that right wall. So she really needs to have a nice clean rest of the run to mitigate that mistake.
Well, it's only her second World Cup race here. She was 23rd in December, so she didn't make the cut. She changes that around here. World Cup best is a 5th place finish in Innsbruck. It's only her 13th World Cup start, her first full season. Speed is decent. The track has got a good sheen on it. They spritz the ice, give it a nice fresh polish, like sending a Zamboni down, although that wouldn't be a clever idea.
Yeah, the track looks quick, and it also has cooled off a little bit since the first heat. It's night is starting to fall in Winterberg. 123.7. I don't know that that is going to be a speed that's going to hold up very well, but she's through and down 58.98 compared to her first run of 59.26. So quicker. The track's got about a quarter second in it, so that's good news.
Yeah, nearly 0.3 of a second quicker than her first heat. So is that enough to move her up the order? Well, she was only 800s behind the nearest sled, so it certainly goes some way to doing that. She looks a little less disappointed with the run than she did after the first heat. And we've said all season long, perhaps the last 2 or 3 seasons, that the British athletes start strongly and then the speed disappears the longer the track goes on. That seems to be the case here again.
Yeah, nice and I'm sorry, sitting there watching her entrance into corner 0, to trying to figure out what exactly happened, because she struggled in the exit more than she did in the first run. It looks like it broke away from her at the very last moment there. You see the toe come out and that abrupt on take, which is hard to see in the live pictures, and then it just tracked over into the wall.
So you can lose all your speed before the first turn, ironically, here. Next up is Nicole Silveira for Brazil. Lives in Calgary, where she is a nurse, so she's had a busy couple of years for all sorts of reasons. 5:58 is the getaway, so she's a little slower than Brogan at the start, gives away that early advantage that she had.
But she made up for it by having a better corner 0 and having better speed through the uphill section into turn 2. So that goes from 900s back to 500s back. And we'll check it at the next time chart. It looks like a pretty hot top of the track. There it is, into green numbers by 300ths of a second going into the Kreisel.
She's been combining World Cup and North America's Cup races, won 5 straight North America's Cup races before Christmas, came back to spend Christmas in Belgium with Kim Marmans and a bunch of other sliders, and has been having a sensational time on the World Cup. Hasn't yet completed a full World Cup season. Better speed than Brogan Crowley. What's the gap going to be like at the line? 2100ths up. So that's an improvement over what she did and over what Brogan did in the second heat. That's getting on for 7/10 of a second quicker.
Nicole's going to be a lot happier with that run, just all the way down. I think she was left a little bit on the table in the first run. She just didn't quite have it, finger quotes, it. But that's a good run to end on. Go to St. Moritz, one race left before she looks like she'll make her Olympic debut for Brazil in Beijing. We see her here, exit turn 8 into 9. That's like the classic move. You hang it up on the end of 8, you come over and cross and hit 9, and you have to drive to minimize the damage. We can see here in turn 11 just how bumpy it is. We talked about that the entire first heat, but a pretty solid run from Nicole.
Yeah, good stuff, and she'll be used to that long race format at the Olympics. She's done a couple of World Championships already in her short international career. Next up, Viesturs for Latvia. 18th place after the first of our 2 heats, 1/10 in hand over Nicole Silveira. She has a slightly slower start than Brazilian, so this could be pretty close as well. Viesturs' best result here, 19th place in January last year. She was 22nd in December.
Check any start time, 5:64. Her start is kind of her Achilles heel, but she does a nice job of building speed late. But she's currently up, back by 300ths of a second. So she's in the mix, even with that deficient start time. So then what does that tell you? That means she did 0-1-2 very, very well. This time check, dead heat going into Kreisel, so she's bringing it back, fastest speed going through the Kreisel, and here she goes.
Yep, 7/10 of a kilometre in hand over Nicole Silveira, so she should open up the margin.
Fastest speed through 9, here you go. Now the question is, can she move up? Good-looking run from the Latvian, 1/4 of a second in the lead, fastest speed at the bottom, and this is the run she was looking for in heat 1.
58.61, track looking a lot faster than it was in the first heat. Visibly it's shiny, which it wasn't for much of the first heat, and it's producing the speed as well. 58.6 compared to 59.0, that's 1.47 seconds quicker than her first heat. That is not just the slider, that is making the best of the conditions.
Nah, she absolutely laid one down. She was only 1/100th of a second behind Jackie Naracott, who's on deck right now. And, you know, we always talk about playing snakes and ladders in heat 2. India just threw one down, and she has the opportunity. I'm looking at the timesheet right now. She could grab 2 or 3 positions. It's not out of the question.
No, it is very close, and actually very close all the way up the leaderboard. Jackie Naracott of Australia, 4th of the starters in the second heat, 100th in hand over Viesturs of Latvia. Jackie was 2nd on ice in the first heat. 43rd World Cup race, her 7th here. She was 17th in December's race. 15th is her previous best on the Winterberg track. She lay in 17th place after the first of our 2 heats.
Jackie start 5:48. So she was up 5:68 in the first heat. Wow,
Whoa,
2/10 better.
2/10.
There you go. Okay, that helps to minimize any issues. What was 1/100th of a second gap, she just blew out. She's now up by almost 4/10 of a second going through the top of the track right now.
All right, so a huge difference in speed right from the start and a faster track. Now, the question is, how quickly does she recalibrate the radar after the first run to deal with how fast the track is now in the second one?
Well, she looks like she did it pretty quick. She's the fastest sled down the track through every single time check so far, it looks like.
All right.
Great speed from her. 6,400's up. What did she have between heats? Need like
Wild run.
Shot.
Wow. And across the line, 58.09, 1 second quicker than her first heat. And for comparison, a 58.09 would have left her in second place in the first run.
That's a great run from Jackie. Obviously, the track's a little quicker than it was.
All right, how much quicker is the track? Because Kimberly Boss did a 57.88. The track record is a 56.7. So 1.1 seconds, we're getting very close to track record pace if the track holds up or speeds up.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Kim Boss, her first run. You don't know what's possible. You don't even know.
Yeah.
But great run from Jackie. I'm just stoked to see that. I don't think I ever pulled 2/10 out on the start ramp between heats unless I like pop the groove or something. So yeah, wherever whatever coffee stand they have up there, that's a good one to visit.
Woo. She is beat. All right, well, that's taken the wind out of her sails. Next up, Anna Fernstedt from the Czech Republic. Her advantage over Jackie Naracott was 3/100ths of a second. She knows this track well, former product of the German program. She started a World Cup career for Germany before going to the Czech Republic. It's her 6th World Cup here. She was the junior world champion on this track as recently as 2020.
Anna knows how to get down this track. She's a speed queen. And she's wanting to move up a bit. So she's back 4/10 of a second right now. I expect that gap to come back. Nothing against Jackie Naracott. I like Jackie a lot, but I think Anna knows a thing or two about this track, but she's down on speed right now.
Yep.
Naracott was faster through the middle.
Jackie laid down a blazing run, second fastest of the competition so far, 3rd best speed. Naracott has the quickest speed, the highest speed at every speed trap all the way down, perhaps unsurprisingly. So is this second, or does she drop 2 spots? She's going to be behind India Teralda. No, she just squeezes it back in the final corner. Little, raised eyebrows action from Jeff Payne.
Not happy. Let's see the hands in the outrun. Meanwhile, Jackie Naracott singing that Jefferson's theme, moving on up.
58.54 compared to 58.80 in the first heat.
Hung it up there on the exit 8. Can't be high on the exit 8. Crossover too much, knocks the sled away. She's got to drive. She knows where to drive and to do subtly, but she's having to drive where she doesn't want to, and she knows it. Absolutely knows it. Look at the big bumps there in 11.
Well, she was exactly half a second quicker than her first heat. Jackie Naracott knocked it out of the park. First starter in the first heat, Kim Yoon-ji. Next up for Korea, Jackie Naracott, the runaway leader right now, starting to climb the leaderboard. Kim with a 9/100ths of a second advantage, and she'll be doing all she can to hang on to that for certain.
5:40, good start time. It was a 5:49 in the first heat, so significantly better. She pulls almost a 10th out of the start. So she has a 17/100ths of a second to play with. What can she do with it? That's the question.
Only her 3rd ever World Cup race. The 2 previous outings were both in Innsbruck in November of 21.
Man, this track looks quick, Martin. I don't know. It might it might get back to where it was.
Well, after racing in Innsbruck, she stayed on there to do the ICC race, then went to Lake Placid for the North America's Cup races. She took 3 gold medals there in the last 3 races of the season. Only because Nicole Severa was back here, you'd assume. However, 1800's back, she is coming, but she is not going to get there. Second place at the line by 700s. It did get close in the end. Yeah.
She made it interesting. Oh, wow. Yeah, I saw 1800s back going into the last quarter. Like, no, done.
Yep.
Never mind.
And then second best speed brought that gap back down. Highest speed at the bottom, actually, is now Anna Fernstedt. So she was motoring quicker than Jackie Naracott there, Kim. So 200s back.
So you're at exit turn 2. Pretty decent cross there. It's what you want to see. Exit 8, though, she disappears. That means she's high on the exit. You see the foot come out, hit the wall, enough to pick her up off the sled. So when you see a body get picked up off the sled, that's energy going up, which means it's not energy going forward. And energy going forward in a gravity sport is your friend.
Well, with the limited knowledge she's got of this track, that's an impressive run from Kim Yoon-ji of Korea. Next up, Laura Dees for Great Britain, our Olympic bronze medalist from Pyeongchang. Her best result here is a 4th place finish. She was 21st, missed the cut in December's race. Her first ever race here was her best. 59th World Cup start. If she goes to St. Moritz next week, it will be her 60th race in the World Cup.
As many as Martin Stuckers has won.
That's very true, yes.
Look at that stat I pulled out.
Yeah.
All right, well, green numbers from Miss D. She was up 2,900s at the start, still up 2,100s. Let's see whether she can maintain speed. 5th fastest speed through the Kreisel. That 21 has come down to a 10th. So she'll need to be perfect. 7, 8, 9 here. Little bit of a drift. You can hear the ice cutting. That's not sled. That was a mistake on that one, Laura. Sorry.
She's gone from 5th fastest to 6th fastest. 3,200s behind, from 2,900s up. 6th best speed in the final corner, 124 kilometers an hour. Top speed there is 126.7. That's nearly 3 Ks off. So she went from 2,900s up at the first hop to 3,700s back at the last. 58.63 is a little quicker, 2,700s faster than her first heat, so it's an improvement, but not compared to how everybody else has fared.
Yeah,
lots more question marks.
Hockey stop going in it from 8 to 9. I mean, I'll blame sled all the time whenever I think it's sled. That one was on Laura. I think she would tell you that too. That's a place right before the bottom falls out of the track. You can't make that mistake. Little rough here at the bottom, but the damage was done in the middle of the track for sure. But how good was Jackie Naracott's run? For those of you keeping score at home, she's up 3 and has her eyes on 4.
Yeah, it was a bit close for comfort. Understatement is still strong in this one. Next up, Megan Henry for the USA. She lies in 13th place after the first of the 2 heats. Megan Henry and Kelly Curtis working hard to qualify a second US sled to make sure they both get to go to the games. Megan at the moment behind her teammates in the standings.
5.40 getaway for Megan, so 400s faster than her first heat. Does a much better job of getting through corner 0 than she did earlier. So that's gonna help her a lot. Second fastest speed, actually, going through corner 2, that big uphill. And she's got a 1/4 of a second in the tank to hold her spot and overtake Jackie Naracott.
13th after the first heat. Her best result here is 7th place from her first race here in the World Cup a couple of years ago.
Leading away, 6th fastest speed in Kreisel. That 2,600's down to 16. What's it going to be here at this check? Down to 200s. Only the 4th fastest speed. We have a race on our hands in red numbers. She has to be perfect in the bottom. She's got to have a perfect 14 if she wants to get back in the lead.
Hear the sled whistling. Speed is close. It is going to be close at the line, within a 10th maybe.
Oh, she did it!
Front. She hangs on. Wow.
Sometimes it pays to be one of the smallest sliders in the field through the fastest corner in the field because you have an aerodynamic advantage, and Megan just buried her head there. She was 7/100ths of a second back going into the last time check, which means she found 8/100ths all of a sudden in the final corner. That's just pinning it down and getting aerodynamic. That's a really veteran move from Megan Henry.
And that's getting the line absolutely nailed on so you don't have to make the adjustments. And that's the key, isn't it? When you watch Martins do course, you don't see him steering because he's already done it before you were watching him coming into the turn.
That's exactly right. So Megan's not going to realize until she sees the splits how close this was, because she right here, this is going into the last corner. She's back almost a 10.
Yeah, she was bumping away there. But as you know from your race car driving experience as well as your ice racing experience, line is everything. Hannah Neiser next up for Germany, slides for BSC Winterberg, the hometown queen, or one of the two of them here. Her third World Cup on this track. She was a bronze medalist in the Junior Worlds behind Anna Fernstedt in 2020. And she knows this place well, 5:54. Even those 300s of improvement from the first heat break could make a big difference right now.
So the race with Hannah is very interesting. Don't look at anybody else in the field except targeting top 8. She has to have a top 8 here and a top 8 next week in order for the Germans to guarantee that they will send her to the Olympics. And the Germans don't mess around with this. They are deadly serious when it comes to their Olympic qualification criteria. 4th on the speed right now. She's 5th on the splits. She's got to bring it back. You can't, in order to move up, you got to at least hold your spot.
Well, she is currently 2nd in the overall point standings. Jacqueline Lurling is 3rd. Suzanne Kreyer is 4th, racing in ICC. Best speed at the bottom. How close does she get? Nowhere near close enough. So, drops 3. That is not a qualifying run unless, well, even if this is called off, it wasn't a qualifying run in the first heat. Hannah Neiser at home loses 3 spots in the first heat, in the second heat rather.
Yeah, no better than 15. Sorry, no worse than 15th, I should say. But that's a far cry from 8th. She's gonna need a lot of luck, and that means a lot of people not having luck. There's this thing I refer to a lot with sliders, is a case of the try too hards. When you're trying too hard, the sled knows it. You're tight on the sled and you just don't get the speed out of it. And especially with 2 races to go, it's easy to slip into that.
Well, for a relative youngster, she's got a lot of pressure on her shoulders. So too, perhaps, but feeling it less, Elena Tarachenkova of Russia. Silver medalist earlier in the season. She was lying 2nd in standings last time we were here. She's currently still the 2nd best rated Russian slider. She is the real deal.
5.25 getaway, there you go. Better than a 5.32 earlier, fastest speed through corner 0, so she pushes well and maintains it going up the hill. So that 2/10 gap that she currently has is stretched out. It's 2,300, so she's got a quarter second up. A little bit of a drift from 3 to 4.
Only one person in the entire field has started faster than her, and that is her teammate Elena Nikitina.
Leading away though, 10th fastest speed through Kreisel. Quarter second back to 1,500s. Got some work to do. 10th fastest speed here. Well, something's not going well.
Only her 13th World Cup race. She was 15th here in December. And she's hovering around that danger zone. If she drops the 3 or 4 spots that it looks like she's going to, she'll be 15th again. She does drop. And pew pew, Megan Henry stays in the leader's box.
Megan's doing it the hard way.
Yeah,
she did it last week too. I mean, I don't know why she has to stress me out like this. I have gray hair.
For those keeping score at home, hi Ken, Jackie Naracott, still 2nd by the way. Megan Henry and Jackie Naracott are separated by 100th of a second, so therefore effectively not separated. You see Megan, what you're actually seeing is Megan and Jackie. So every time they don't beat Megan Henry, they lose at least 2 spots, guaranteed.
Yeah, no, that was, I don't want to say a train wreck of a run because there's not that much of a mistake, but the result is not great. Hannah
Well,
nicely moves up one, so that helps her.
Super tight grouping here. Well, Alina Tarachenkova, I think, is still going to Beijing. And she can shrug it off. It's her first full season. She's got a long time yet to get better and better. Half the field is done. Penultimate race of the season. Megan Henry, the leader. 10 down, 10 to go here in Winterberg, Germany. Race 7 of the Women's Skeleton World Cup. Megan Henry leads for the USA by 100th, and Jackie Naracott. Valentina Margallio, bronze medalist in Altenburg before Christmas. Next up, 10th in the first heat, Greg West. She's got a great start, but she had a bit of a loose first run.
Bit of a loose first run, but she's correcting those errors already, because great start, fastest speed going in uphill into turn 2. And that has grown her lead from 2800s to over 4/10. We'll see where it is going into Kreisel, over a half second.
Well, she was 900ths of a second quicker in the start alone. That should translate to at least a quarter second better at the bottom with no other improvements. 4th best speed, half a second up still on Megan Henry.
Got her head buried. She is absolutely going for it. 6/10 up, a little wild at the bottom, that's all right. Fastest speed of the contest through 14.
Wow. And this is Valentina at her best, just gives it everything. 57.81. She takes the lead from Megan Henry and Jackie Naracott, both of whom I think are still, not just possibly, I think likely to get a top 10 result out of this.
Yeah, they are definitely climbing the charts.
Yeah. Well, that was another classic wild ride from Valentina Margallio. This young woman does not know the meaning of throttle back.
No, look at the head buried. She didn't care. She was absolutely sending it this entire run, and she kept it online. You love to see it. She's hungry for speed. She is not scared of this sport by any means. Look, picked her entrance. Her head was down before she's even out of the corner. It's a little rough. She doesn't care. She can handle it. She went through Altenburg. This is nothing.
Yeah, well, she crashed out in the first race in Altenburg, came back and took a medal. That's the guts. So Valentina Margallio leads. The advantage of Kelly Curtis of the USA over her was just 900ths of a second from the first heat, so she's going to need everything she's got in her limited knowledge of this track to try and hang on. She was 10th here in December. She was 8th after the first heat.
5:51 getaway. She had a 5:46 in the first heat, so she's the first one to go backwards on the start ramp I think I've seen. But the track still looks like it has a ton of speed in it.
I think it's there to be discovered. It is frosting up in a couple of places. 4th best speed, though. Still, it's Margallio at the top and the bottom, and the middle part of the track, Jackie Naracott.
Big mistake. Big mistake in 8. Hung it up on the end, and a big hit before turn 9. That is going to cost her a lot of speed. So she's
And she
not
was
going to
coming close. Yeah, she was coming close.
She's behind her teammate at the time.
And she drops 5 spots. Only the 9th best speed of the second heat so far.
That was a big heat for Kelly Curtis. She needed to close the gap a bit in points to Megan Henry. And they would have been, if she'd have held her spot, she'd have been basically even with Megan in a head-to-head showdown next week in St. Moritz. But now she has her work cut out for her.
Yeah.
See, and Kreisel gets away from her. The sled spikes up, comes out of the corner early. She actually gets a 3rd wave. Look how low she is, and it just picks up on the end. And then we're going to see here. See, that's exit turn 3. She clipped there going into 4. Then exit 8 completely disappears, and that's a big hit. That is energy going everywhere but forward, and it's hitting the brakes.
24 points coming in here behind Megan Henry. That gap will grow. Katie Uhlaender, not racing this weekend, is the top scoring American, so they're battling for the 2nd spot. America has a 2-sled allocation maximum. Well, next up, Canada's Jane Channel. She was the 4th slider out of the start box. 3rd best here, her first ever World Cup was 5 years ago, and that is still her best result.
5:31 getaway, but the fastest speed going uphill into turn 2. So that 100th she's back, well, it actually bled out a bit. So now she's back 800ths of a second. So she's got her work to do. I mean, Margallio threw it down, absolutely threw it down. I haven't seen somebody just drop their head and go for it and execute it like that in a long time. That's a tough act to follow for sure. Nope, same mistake, flips going into 9. Same mistake as Kelly Curtis, not quite as bad, but only 9th fastest speed going through turn 11. She's got some work to do. She's back a quarter of a second. She looks like she may drop 1, but she won't drop 2 most likely.
Ooh, but only the 10th best speed. It's nearly 6/10 back to second place, so she slips in ahead of Megan Henry. All of which is slightly less bad news for Kelly Curtis. Not that she will think much of that. Anybody who falls now between Megan Henry in 3rd place and Kelly Curtis in 6th is very bad news for Kelly's hopes of making it to Beijing. Jane Channel slips a spot.
This is such a heartbreaking time of year. You know, you're watching some people make it, and then you're watching friends of yours that at the same time, because you made it, are going to miss.
And it's the end of 4 years, and you know, last year didn't really count. The year before was a full season, but last year was very strange. This year's been kind of odd as well. You know, particularly for the North American athletes. We haven't slid in North America at all in 2 seasons.
Boy, that's the full sin line through turn 14 for Jane.
Yeah. High and late, let it fly. She is still 2nd in points, not too far behind teammate Mimi Reneva. So they are the top 2 for Canada. Janine Flock next up, no question, who's the #1 slider for Austria. She's the only one they've got in the World Cup rankings. Former World Cup champion lies 2nd in the points, won last week in Segunda, only her 2nd podium of the year, though. That finally all the new sled program is starting to come together, and she's really starting to understand it and believe it.
5:45 getaway, improves by 500ths of a second. So she's back about 2/10 at the moment. We expect that with her start. But what Janine does, we call her Austrian glider for a reason. She just builds speed. 2nd fastest speed, only to Naracott through Kreisel. Jackie threw down, absolutely threw down as far as speed goes.
Yeah.
But here she comes, 2nd fastest speed again, quarter second, back to 1600ths of a second. We got a race on our hands.
The gap. Yes, we do. Valentina Margallio or Janine Flock, 1300. She needs to be super fast here. Margallio was quicker. She's not going to get to her. Margallio leads. Wow. So Janine Flock goes 4400s better and does not hold her spot. Not many times you're going to say that.
Yeah, sometimes you throw your hands up, but you know, this isn't going to affect her Olympic qualification, especially coming off a W last week. She's well above the cut line as far as that goes. This is not a bad run by any means by Janine. Just, she's had a couple people around her that have thrown down absolute bangers, and Margallio was one of them.
Well, Janine's had 2 podiums, has not been out of the top 8. I'm not sure what the Austrian Sliding Federation's rules are. Blimey, that was rocking and rolling, wasn't it?
That was more aggressive than I thought it was.
That was wild with a capital W. Okay, 6 to go. We have a tie for 5th place. Tina Hermann, a 2-time winner on this. A 2-time winner on this track. Won back in 2015-16, the year after the World Champs, and won here in 2019-20. Let's see if she's got what it takes to take a medal here. Bronze was 1300ths of a second quicker than Tina in the first heat. I thought, Greg West, that her first run was a little unconvincing at the bottom, which is normally where she is absolutely solid gold.
Yeah, it was a little sloppy by Tina's standards, which is different than most people's standards. But yeah, 559 getaway compared to her 565 in the first heat. So she improves there like pretty much everybody has. The track, obviously, you can see the sheen in it. You can see that little reflection. It's got plenty of speed in it. The temperatures are cooling. That means she has opportunity. Problem, only the 2nd fastest speed going through Kreisel. She's 4/10 of a second back. She's got some work to do if she wants to catch the Italian. Fastest speed through 9, that will help.
She has not been off the podium here for 6 races. This might be the second time since 2017 that she does not finish in the top 3. Second best speed at the line, does not get to Margallio. So she drops a spot.
Yeah, she's not going to be happy with that. Once again, though, Valentina threw down.
Yeah. We have seen Tina Hermann come back from more than half a second back at the Kreisel to retake the lead, often to win it or to get into the medals, but here, not so much.
So going in the corner to 0 here. That's a pretty good line. Maybe she touches the wall. I mean, she doesn't lose speed there. Problem is, Margallio pushes so fast. I mean, the Germans, this new generation of female skeleton athlete has brought some heat to the start ramp that we haven't seen. It's not just Nikitina out pushing everybody by 3/10 anymore. There's 3 or 4 girls who can flat out push. And it's going to take the Germans, if they want to continue their momentum, they're going to have to start pushing the sled a little faster.
Valentina Margallio, the leader, with 5 to go. Our race leader, the 7th women's skeleton race of the season in Winterberg, Valentina Margallio, started her second heat with a 5.19. Fastest starter in the first heat is this woman, Elena Nikitina. She goes 5.11, looking to hang on to a top 5 finish and maybe shoot for the medals.
She needs a better drive than she had in the first heat, and by her standards as well. Even though she's a start monster, she had a sloppy drive. I think she would tell you that as well. So she can improve that. She's got a chance to go medal hunting here. She's got 3/10 in the bank. Kind of expect that right now, but it's coming back. Already down to a quarter of a second.
She has lost to Margallio already. She had 2400s when she was on the start block. That's now down below that. It's now below 0.2 of a second. 10th
no
best
speed in the sled. No speed in the sled, but
whatever setup she had is not working.
It's gonna be
close, but not close enough. Surely Valentina Margallio does not hang on. How did she find that at the bottom? She wasn't going as quickly.
That's the arrow going through 14, I'm convinced.
Wow.
Because she's similar to Megan Henry. Nikitina is quite small. So whenever she put her head down going into 14, if she commits to it, she is a smaller athlete than Margallio. She doesn't cut as much wind, and she has a chance to use that to her advantage.
She's just talking to the coach. She was saying, what? Because she knew that wasn't a top draw run. You can feel it. You can feel how fast you're going. I don't think she believed that she was going to get past Valentina Margallio, and I didn't either. The gap was coming down all the way, Greg. It wasn't a bad run, it wasn't sloppy, but maybe the setup wasn't quite spot on.
No, but she actually extended the gap. Yeah. She reversed it in the last corner. I'm telling you, I think it's the arrow. It's so fast down there.
4 to go. And are they all medalists on this track? Not quite. Mimi Reneva was, though. Bronze medal here in December's race, and she was 500s out of the medals. She started the season all at 6s and 7s with a brand new sled and a return to the ice. She didn't compete last year, but now she is firing with all guns blazing, and a 5:39. That's 500s quicker at the start than her first run.
Yeah, much better start time, better execution of corner 0. So she's back quarter of a second right now, give or take. Big steer there in 5. Now it's 1800ths of a second back, but only the 12th fastest speed of the entire race going through Kreisel. Got to be clean here at the bottom.
Is coming down still. Oh, this is going to be close. Mimi was 800s ahead of Elena Nikitina, who found big speed in the final turn. If she's not ahead by then, and she's not, she's going to lose ground. Does she go second? She does, by 400s ahead of Margallio. Woo, it's getting close.
It is spicy down here in the top 5, let me tell you what.
Yeah. Well, like I always say, if this was easy, I'd be doing it. That's why they don't just hand out medals to the starters.
Well, she just ran out of track. It's a good-looking line. This works for her in 5. You see a little toe action there? It's worked for her both heats. But if you watch her splits, I mean, she was cutting down the entire time. She went from a quarter second out to 700ths. I mean, she just ran out of track. 2 more corners and she's in the lead.
Well, she goes to another one of her happy places next week in Moritz, a track that really gels with everything in Mimi's mindset. She's been a successful winner before. But what about Yulia Kanakina? The Russian took her best ever World Cup result last week with a silver in Sigulda, of course, a track that she knows better perhaps than any other. She's in the bronze medal position after the first heat. She had 1300ths over her teammate, the current leader, Elena Nikitina. We've seen her allow medals to slip out of her fingers before. Can she hang on this time? 5:23, that shows intent, 700ths quicker.
Is that your reverse commentator curse? They're trying to will her to hold the spot.
I never like to see anybody slip away 400ths back, but she was outstarted by her teammate.
Good looking top of the track from Yulia. Back to 100th back. She's got good speed. Well, only the 8th fastest speed, but that's faster than her teammate. Once again, Naracott and Margallio blew everybody away in speed. Like, it's insane. 200ths up. So she's slightly edging ahead, but she's going to have to be perfect at the bottom.
Yeah,
Nikitina
only the 11th
was light
best speed. A Russian will take a medal, 100th in it, not the best speed. She's not going to stay in front at the line. It's going to be Nikitina. It is by 200ths. That's 58.09 downtime, exactly the same as Mimi Reneva, so she stays ahead of the Canadian by 500ths, but loses a spot to her more experienced teammate. Elena Nikitina leads with 2 to go. Yulia may yet take a medal. Nothing is yet done.
They switched who was in the lead on that run 5 different times. That's how close they were. I'm watching, looking at the splits right now. Ahead, behind, ahead, behind, ahead, behind. If you had an overlay, they basically would have been on top of each other. But yeah, I mean, it's a good run. It's just, that's the way it goes.
She looked very disappointed at the bottom when the coach was talking to her. All right. Big breaths in now for Jacqueline Lurling. Again, we talked about Olympic qualification standards. Yulia Kanakina is the 2nd best of the Russians, ahead of Elena Tararychenkova, so she will keep that alive. But for Germany, the Olympic silver medalist, i.e. the best Olympic skeleton slider, currently still active, only has 1 of 3 required results to be allowed to go to the games by Germany. This has to be absolutely vintage Jacka.
5:64 getaway, so she cruised on her last heat by 200ths of a second.
But gives away 5300ths to Elena Nikitina, and she was only 1600ths in front.
We'll see what she can do here. We need vintage Jacka, though. She wants to hold the spot. In the first heat, she stepped on the gas right about here. There it is. Fastest speed through Kreisel. This is what she does. This is her hometown, home track. She knows how to get down it better than anybody else. She's clean from 8 to 9. That's where everybody else has struggled. Fastest speed through the middle. It's coming back, 1/4 of a second. She has to be perfect down here.
Has not had a medal here in 3 seasons. At the line, she is going to be the leader by 1900. She found nearly a 1/4 of a second in the finish corner alone.
She pulled a 1/2 second back from turn 9 to turn 14. That's absolutely insane. That's how much speed she was carrying.
Right, 2nd podium. What are the rules? I think it's 3 top 8s or 2 podia.
Well,
but I'm not a German selector. I don't know.
Yeah, right? I think Hannah Nicey's the one that's going to really struggle. It worked for her. It worked for her. She knows the line. Sometimes there's that crazy line that you just have to go for it. Look at the fist pump. There it is. She knows. Check the box. That's the most relieved she's looked all season.
57.91. That is 300 slower than Kimberly Boss in the first heat. Kimberly Boss, the winner here in December, the World Cup points leader, looking for her second career win here in Winterberg, here in the Dutch Alps. 5:44 getaway, a tenth slower than her first start.
That's not going to help her cause. She had some indecision on her toes there coming out of the groove. It's like she didn't know where the sled was going to go. But she's out to 7,400.
Half a second up from the first heat. It's out to 3/4 of a second over Jacqueline Lurling on Lurling's home track. Big steer.
Big steer. Only the 17th fastest speed. This could get really interesting. Jacka pulled back a half second in the last 5 corners. Where are we at here? 4,800. Oh, wow. It's going to be close.
It is going to be very close. This could be down to absolutely 1/100th of a second. 34, she is losing ground, but not fast. She is going to win again here, isn't she? It is a second gold medal in Winterberg for Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands. She continues to extend her lead at the top of the World Cup rankings. Jacqueline Lurling is on the podium for the first time since 2019, when she was a winner here. But Kimberly Boss, 2 for 2. 2 trips to Winterberg, 2 gold medals. Wow. Her second career win in the same track, in the same season. Wow.
I believe this is her home track.
It has always been a talismanic track for the Dutch for so many reasons. Not least because it's close and lots of their families and friends come down in normal times to see them. But for Kimberly Boss, well, she did enough to hang on by 1/4 of a second over Jacqueline Lurling to claim her second gold medal. That was a big run for Kim.
Yeah, great run from Kim. A little sloppy up top, but the first run put her so far in the lead that it didn't matter. I mean, her first run was the cream of the crop.
Yes, it was.
Hallo allemaal, leuk dat jullie kijken. Dag Leroy.
You got that translation. I wasn't talking that time.
If only she'd show a bit of emotion. Kimberly Boss wins by 1/4 second over Jacqueline Lurling. What a relief for Lurling. And Nikitina and Kanakina just 200s apart for the bronze medal, ahead of Mimi Reniva and Valentina Margallio, who came up from 10th in the first heat. Big rise up the order as well from Megan Henry. She ends up in 10th place after 13th in the first heat. Jackie Naracott went up from 17th to 11th, so a big run up the order for her as well. And for Great Britain, Laura Dees, 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces ahead of Brogan Crowley. That might just be enough to turn the tables and put the Olympic bronze medalist as the lead contender for what looks like being a single sled entry for Team GB to Beijing. But for Kimberly Boss, the Dutch may not need more than 1 sled to go to Beijing. She's earned her place in spades this season. She has not been on the podium in Altenburg, but she has been on the podium now in every other track. She's got 2 gold medals, 2 silver medals, and a bronze from Sigulda. So there she is, your 2-time winner this season. What a year this is turning into. Oh, I know, that relief of pressure. She's our World Cup points leader now by 68 points. Behind her, it's all change. Elena Nikitina and Tina Hermann move ahead of Janine Flock, who slips from 2nd down to 4th. But as those positions shuffle, Kimberly Boss continues to stamp her authority on this World Cup campaign. For everybody else, 1 more World Cup race in St. Moritz next week. And then it is a 2-week respite before they head to Beijing and the Winter Olympic Games. Well, still so much left to be decided. Racing here in Winterberg. Double race weekend for Intercontinental Cup skeleton sliding in Altenburg this weekend as well. So there will still be lots more stories to tell next week as we get to St. Moritz, the home of ice sliding and one of not only the most beautiful tracks on the planet, but one of the most rewarding for our sliders. Well, that's it for Skeleton Friday. My thanks to Greg West for joining me. My thanks to you as well for watching. We'll be back tomorrow morning with John Morgan, 09:45, 08:45 GMT, 03:45 Eastern, as we get the bobsleigh weekend underway. Until next time, thanks for being with us. Bye for now.
So